We continue now at the top of Daf Samech Beis Meseches Avodah Zara. This is Avodah Zarah Daf 69b. On the previous summit, the Gemara brought a brisa which said that if a person leaves his workers with produce that is pure, then the person can rely on the fact that they remain pure even if he was some distance away from the workers. However, if the person says to the workers, you go and I'm going to come after you, so then already we say that the workers may have caused that the produce became tameh. And the Gemara wanted to know what exactly is the difference between the first case of the brisa and the last case of the brisa. And the Gemara now continues and says that in the reish of the brisa, Bebolohem derech hakalson. Rashi explains Bebolohem derech hakalson means Keshabal habayis yochol lavo derech hakalson. It's when the Bal habayis is able to come by some other route. Demirtas, now they're concerned that he might come at any moment. Demirtas hashta asi, now they're concerned that right now he's going to come, and that's why in the ratio where they have that concern, that's why we say that the taharos remain pure. And the point of bringing this brisa is to say that that is the same in our Mishnah as well. Our Mishnah is dealing with barrels of wine, and again, as long as there's a presumption of supervision, which means that he can come at any point in time, so then we say that there is no concern. And the Gemara continues, if so, if he's able to come from some other route, so seifanami, so in the end case of the brisa also, why don't we say that it remains pure, the produce remains pure? And the Gemara says to that, Kevan do amar lahem, since at the end of the brisa he said to them, L'chu vani avo acharechem, you go and I'm going to come after you. So then samcha datayu, so then they rely on that, they are more at ease, and they are not concerned with making the produce impure because they don't think that he is going to come. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, Hamaniach oved kochavim bechanuso v'chulo, Hamaniach yeno bekarono besfina. The Mishnah had a number of cases that all seem to essentially be the same. Anytime the oved kochavim is concerned that the Jew might come, and again, the case of the Mishnah was that the oved kochavim is in a store, the wine is in a wagon or a ship, or the oved kochavim is transporting the barrels of wine. Again, they all seem to be the same basic idea. And so the Gemara says, it's necessary for the Mishnah to teach all of the various cases. The Itana oved kochavim, because if we just had the case of the oved kochavim transporting the barrels of wine, the savar dil masi v'chazilei, there he thinks maybe the person's going to come and see him, and therefore he's not going to touch the wine. Aval bekaron obesfina, but if the wine is in a wagon or in a ship, maybe you'll say that he'll take the ship some distance away and he'll do whatever he wants. And if we only had the case of the wagon and the ship, because the oved kochavim thinks maybe he'll come on some other road and he'll be by the banks of the river and he'll see me. But if the oved kochavim is in his store, maybe the oved kochavim says to himself, I'll close the door, and he'll do whatever he wants. Kamash Malon, that's why the Mishnah teaches us all of these various cases. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rabba bar Barchana, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabba bar Barchana says that Rabbi Yochanan says, Machlokes b'shal sid, the machlokes between the Tanakama and Rav Shimon ben Gamliel, and our Mishnah is talking specifically when the cover of the barrel is with sid, which is lime, which is plaster. Avol b'shal tit, but if it's of tit, which is clay, divrei hakol kadei sheyiftach v'yigov. There everybody would agree, meaning even the Tanakama would agree with Rabbi Shimon that it has to be that he's leaving for the amount of time that he could completely open it up and make a new stopper and let it dry. And Rashi explains, Machlokas b'shal sid, the argument in the Mishnah is when the cover of the barrel is with plaster, b'megufa shal sid shehi levana. Again, we're talking about sid, which is levana, which is white. That's the main point. Hu dechayshi rabbanan l'shtuma. There the rabbanan say you even have to be concerned he's going to drill a hole. The rabbanan say that it is a shorter window of time. If the Yisrael leaves for a shorter window of time, then still there's a reason to be concerned. Again, if the Yisrael told the oved kochavim that he was going to be leaving. So when it's white, then the rabbanan are concerned you're going to drill a hole. To cave into lavanim, because since it's white, lo minkar ben chadash liyashin, you can't really tell the difference between new and old, and so therefore he'll be able to repair the hole and he'll be able to get away with it. Avol shel tit, but if it's of clay, shehu shachar b'tchilasa, which is black at first, v'ava bishu nog of eno malbin ad yomo yomayim, that even if it dries, it's going to take a day or two to whiten. So divrei hakol lo chayshin l'shtuma. There, everybody agrees we are not concerned that he's going to drill a hole. The minkar ashtima sachor, because over there already you're going to be able to see that drilled hole. Keshar hamagufa, it's not going to look like the rest of the lid of the barrel. Ve'eno aser ad sheyisha kadei sheyiftach v'yigof megufa chadasha v'tigno. Therefore, everybody's going to agree in such a situation it's not going to be forbidden unless he leaves for an amount of time where he can completely open it up and fashion a new stopper and let it dry. And the Gemara continues, Meisvei, we have a question from the following Brisa. Amar Rav Shimon ben Gamliel l'Chachamim, Rav Shimon ben Gamliel says to the Chachamim, V'halo stumo nikr bein milmato, vein milmato. Rav Shimon ben Gamliel says to the Chachamim, why are you concerned that he's going to drill a hole, but when he closes it up, it's going to be obvious that that's what he did, whether you're looking from above, whether you're looking from below, it's going to be obvious. And so the Gemara says, Yamrid b'shlama b'shaltit machlokas. Now, if you're going to say correctly that the machlokas between Rav Shimon ben Gamliel and the Chachamim is when it's made of clay, so then what Rav Shimon ben Gamliel is saying to the Chachamim makes sense. Hainu dekatani stumo nikr bein milmalo vein milmata. That's why it's clear what he did, whether from above or whether from below. It is clear that he drilled a hole and filled it back up again, because as we said in Rashi, the colors are different. Elu yamrit b'shel sid machlokas. But if you're going to say that the machlokas is when it's made of plaster, so b'shlama lamata, I understand from below, yediyah, there it can be known. We'll see Rashi in a moment. Ela lamala holo yediyah, but from above, again, the color is the same. So what's Rav Shimon ben Gamliel saying to the Chachamim? And so therefore it seems that the machlokas actually is bishaltit. The machlokas actually is when we're talking about clay. That's why Rav Shimon ben Gamliel responds that it is obvious. It's nikr bein milmalu vein milmata. And the Gemara continues and answers Rav Shimon ben Gamliel, hu delo yada mai ka'amri rabbanan. What's actually happening in this brisa is Rav Shimon ben Gamliel didn't know what the rabbanan were saying. And this is what he was saying to them. So if you're talking about a situation of clay, so stumo nikr bein milmalo uvein milmata, then when you close it up, it's clear whether from above and whether from below, and therefore it doesn't make any sense that there's a concern of drilling the hole. So now if you're talking about a situation of plaster, so granted that you're correct, you can't tell from above, but lamata, but from below, isn't it known? Can't you tell from below? And the Gemara says to that, V'Rabbanan, now the Rabbanan respond, because the Rabbanan really, they are talking about Sid, but the Rabbanan respond, Kevin de lamala lo yadiyah, since it's not clear from above, lo masek adaite de opich v'chazile, the person, it doesn't occur to him that he should turn it over and look. Inami, or you can say, Zimnan dechalim, sometimes it does fit perfectly, and therefore it is not recognizable even from below. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rava, Rava says, Halacha Rav Shimon ben Gamliel, the halacha is like Rav Shimon ben Gamliel, Ho'alu tanan stama kavase, because at the end of the Mishnah, there's an unattributed line in the Mishnah that follows Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. It's like a stam Mishnah, and therefore we assume the halacha is like Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. The Tanan, as we learned at the end of the Mishnah, Haya'ochel ala shulchan imo, if he's eating on the table with him, V'iniach logan ala shulchan, and he leaves a jug on the table, logan ala dulbaki, he leaves jugs that are on the side table, V'iniach v'yotza, Mashallah shulchan aser, mashallah dulvaki mutter. And again, he leaves them, he goes out. So whatever's on the table is forbidden, because there already the Oved Kochavim assumes he has a certain amount of permission, but what's on the side table is going to be permitted. V'yamamar lo have him mozig v'shosef, he tells him you can dilute it and drink, so he's giving him a certain amount of permission. Afshallah dulvaki aser, then even what's on the side table is aser. Chevios psuchos asuros, if they're open barrels, then they are forbidden. Stumos mutaros, and if they're closed barrels, they are permitted. Kidei sheyiftach v'yigof v'tigov, that's the key line. The end of the Mishnah says in the amount of time that he can open it and fashion a new stopper and let it dry, and that was the opinion of Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. That's an unattributed Mishnah like Rav Shimon ben Gamliel, and that's why the halacha is like Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. The Gemara says, Pshita, well, isn't that obvious? Of course the halacha follows Rav Shimon ben Gamliel, because of course that is a stam Mishnah like Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. The Gemara says it's not necessarily obvious. Ma'u d'teimu, what might you have said? Cooler Rav Shimon ben Gamliel katani la. Maybe the entire end of the Mishnah is just a continuation of Rav Shimon ben Gamliel talking, because Rav Shimon ben Gamliel does say something before that section of the Mishnah, so maybe it's not a stam Mishnah. Maybe it's not unattributed. Kamash Malon, so that's what he's teaching. No, this part of the Mishnah is unattributed. Rav Shimon ben Gamliel said something above, that was finished, and now we have a new part of the Mishnah, and you have an unattributed line, a stam Mishnah, like Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. The Gemara continues, V'chi me'achar d'kai molon kivasi Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. Now, if it's true that we all like Rav Shimon ben Gamliel, the lo chayesh l'shtuma, that he's not concerned with this drilling of the hole, v'hilchasa kivasi Rabbi Eliezer, and also the halacha is like Rabbi Eliezer that was mentioned earlier in the Mesechet, the lo chayesh l'ziyufa, he's not concerned with forgery. So if that's true, so nowadays, my time alamos chamra b'yad ovdei kochavim. Why don't we give over our wine to the ovdei kochavim, to the idolaters? We're not concerned with the forgery. We're not concerned with the drilling of the hole. And the Gemara says, Mishum shaykh, it's because of these small holes in the barrels. These small holes were for the smell of the wine to leave the barrel. So there is some concern that they can drill a little over there and taste from the wine. And Rashi explains, the Brisa said that Rav Shimon ben Gamliel says to the Chachamim, V'alo shetumo nikr, isn't it clear when he drills that hole, if he's going to drill a hole, it's obvious. Bein milmala, whether from above, shezeh chodesh, because this is a new seal, v'hamaguf yeshana, and the general seal is older, so therefore you can see the contrast. Bein milmat, and you can also see from below, meaning kesheyiftach Yisrael es hamagufa, when the Jew opens up the stopper, opens up the lid of the barrel, yira mitachteh osa stima, he's going to be able to see what was closed up, because above the over kocham is able to level it out, to smooth it out. But from the bottom he can't do that, and so therefore it's not level, and therefore it'll be obvious from the bottom. And so then the Gemara said, if you're going to say that the whole machlokas is by plaster, that's where the Rabbanan said what they said. You can't see from above by plaster. As Rashi said, it's the same color. What exactly does Rav Shimon ben Gamliel mean when he's arguing with the Rabbanan that it's going to be nicker? It's not nicker from above if it's sid. And then the Gemara said, the cholim, you can have a situation where even from below it's not obvious, because mismali haneka milmata kilamala, sometimes it is going to fill up the hole at the bottom just like from above. And then the Gemara said, pshita, it's obvious that the halacha is like Rav Shimon ben Gamliel, titana sasam lon kivase, because again there's an unattributed part of the Mishnah like him. For Rava masnisan asal ashmin, and Rava is just teaching us what's in the Mishnah. And the Gemara then said, Ma'u detema habava dehaya ochalimo ala shulchan, maybe what might you have said, that whole part of the Mishnah, that whole section of eating with him on the table, Seifa Demil said Rav Shimon, maybe that is all the end of the words of Rav Shimon. V'hu katani la, he's the one that taught the entire end of the Mishnah. V'achi katani masnisan, Rav Shimon Omer kadei sheyiftach v'yigov v'tigov haya ochel imo v'chulu. It's all Rav Shimon ben Gamliel talking. V'lo stamahi, it's not a stam Mishnah. Kamashmal and Rava the stamahi, that's what Rava is teaching, that it is a stam Mishnah. And then the Gemara said, "V'hashtu de kavin and hilchasak Rav Shimon de lo chayish l'shtuma." Now that we all like Rav Shimon, that we're not concerned l'nekivas chor for the drilling of the hole, shahu below torach, which is very easy to do, mishum de minkar, because that's something that's obvious that it was done. V'leftichas chavis kula nami, and when it comes also to the opening of the entire barrel, the chayish lo Rav Shimon. Now Rav Shimon is concerned with the opening of the entire barrel, lo kaima lon kivase, but that we don't hold like Rav Shimon. The hay ziyufa de tirchu, because that would actually be a forgery, which is something that is difficult to pull off. So in other words, or something that we're not really concerned about because it's difficult to do. In other words, what the Gemara is asking is that when it comes to the drilling of the hole, so Rav Shimon ben Gamliel already said he's not concerned with the drilling of the hole because that's something that's recognizable. Now what Rav Shimon ben Gamliel was concerned about, which was the opening of the entire Megufas HaChavis, but that we're not really concerned about because we say that's a tircha to go ahead and forge that. V'ano kavinan bein ma'amidin halachic Rabbi Eliezer. We hold in Parak ein ma'amidin like Rabbi Eliezer. We're not concerned with the forgery of one seal. So if that's the case nowadays, why don't we place closed barrels in the possession of Ovdei Kochavim? And the Gemara said, Misham Shaicha. The reason why we're strict is because of Shaicha, which is Nekev Dak Meod, Shu B'Megufas HaChavis. They would have a small hole in that lid of the barrel, Lios Reach Hayayin Yotze, which allows the smell of the wine to leave. V'yesh Lochu Shem Yiktach Sham B'Mixas V'Yito Min Hayayin. So therefore there's a concern that maybe he'll drill a little bit over there and taste from the wine, and that is the concern. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rava says, Zona Ovedes Kochavim, if you have a prostitute that's an Ovedes Kochavim, an idolater, a non-Jew, V'Yisrael Mesubin Etzlan, there's a Jew sitting by her, Cham Rashari, the wine will be permitted. Nihida Takiflu Yitzra D'Avera, granted that there's a strong Yitzra Hara for the Avera of Zanus, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Ayin Amid Aleph.